A warning tonight about BC's forests. One group says the aftermath of the pine beetle could spell danger for wildfires and the province's economy. And condos aren't the only empty homes in Vancouver. In one neighborhood, the lights aren't on in most homes because the owners are overseas.
Now, BC One, BC's News 24/7.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. The future of BC's forest industry could be in jeopardy. That's according to a group representing the silviculture industry. They believe 15 to 20 million hectares of land, or 1/5 of BC's working forests, is at risk for major wildfires never before seen in the province. The aftermath of the pine beetle is at the centre of this concern, as some feel its true impact on the economy could just be the beginning. Gareth Maddock-Jones has more.
About 7 or 8 years ago, this region just south of Kamloops had been devastated by mountain pine beetle.
What happens at first is obviously the needles drop off the trees, and after a while the trees began to fall into the forest, and this is a good example.
This tree represents just a fraction of the 15 to 20 million hectares of fuel buildup of dead trees on the ground in BC. Trees that could fuel massive wildfires.
When it comes to catastrophic wildfires in the future, and I don't think I'm being fatalistic, I think it's a question not of if we're going to have them, but when we're going to have them.
And John Betts believes the size of these fires will be a lot bigger than we're used to.
They're going to be of increasing severity and frequency. They're going to be larger. They're going to move faster across the landscape. They're going to take out whatever's in front of them, including our parks, our inventory, our transmission corridors, our watersheds, and even some of our communities. I'm afraid that's in the scenario. It's in the future. It's not just being forecast here. It's happening in other jurisdictions, and we're going to see that happen here. We need to be preparing for that.
It could be difficult to manage the threat posed in areas hit by the mountain pine beetle in BC because the inventory of dead trees in the province is not current.
No one would behave this way about their own house, their own store, right? Their own community center if it's a community. People know these things, and in this case, the government has decided for reasons of expediency not to know, and that's a major problem.
The current BC government has plans to make some improvements to the forestry inventory, but Kevin Kruger thinks the NDP has gone too far in the past at maintaining this information.
Adrian Dix wants people to forget that he was at the pinnacle of power with Glenn Clark when the mountain pine beetle kill started to come on, and they didn't do anything to prevent it. But they did spend hundreds of millions of dollars through an organization called Forest Renewal BC, which went around counting inventory. They spent enough money to pretty much give every tree a name.
While an up-to-date inventory is just one step to help manage a more sustainable forestry industry, there are other remedies to help mitigate the aftermath of the pine beetle epidemic.
We've got to take some of the fuel out of the way. That's sort of an immediate, quick, tactical fix. We also need to get out and start planting more trees on sites that are going to be productive enough to sustain good crops to make up for the losses that we can easily see in the landscape here today. Those are two very quick things we need to be doing right away.
In order for these strategies to be implemented, John Betts acknowledges it will take more public funding and a long-term commitment from the government. Gareth Maddock-Jones, CFJC News.
The Canadian Avalanche Centre issued a special warning today for skiers and snowmobilers in a specific area of the backcountry this weekend. The area affected is dangerous, and they're warning the consequences of a mistake could be fatal. The region affected includes the coastal areas of the northwest, with a special focus on Terrace and Stewart, as well as inland to the Hazelton and Smithers area. The problem is that the snowpack has an uncharacteristic weak layer. They say a slide could be triggered by the weight of a skier or snowmobiler. They're warning that avalanches could be surprisingly large. A tip from the public has helped Vancouver police officers track down the man they allege tried to kidnap a woman earlier this month. The violent incident happened on March 4th on the east side of Vancouver. Investigators say a sex trade worker was picked up and brutally assaulted in Strathcona Park. The woman was then dragged behind a van down a street before managing to escape and jump from the moving vehicle. 39-year-old Michael Farley has been arrested and appeared in court this morning. He is facing several charges.
As a result of the investigative efforts, Michael Edward Farley, that's spelled F-A-R-L-E-Y, 39 years of age, of New Zealand, who entered Canada illegally, using the assumed name of Robert James Clarke, that's C-L-A-R-K-E, has now been charged with the following offenses: aggravated sexual assault causing bodily harm, sexual assault, assault, kidnapping, overcoming resistance by choking to commit a sexual assault, overcoming resistance by choking to commit a kidnapping, administering a noxious substance, and uttering threats.
Burnaby RCMP are searching for suspects after one person was stabbed in an attempted home invasion. A group of people allegedly tried to get in on a home on Imperial between Gillian Griffiths Avenue just after 10 o'clock last night. One of the residents was stabbed. The injuries are minor and he is expected to make a full recovery. No one's been arrested. Anyone with information about the home invasion is asked to call Burnaby RCMP. Well, yesterday we were telling you almost a quarter of the high-end condos in Vancouver's Cole Harbour are empty or occupied by non-residents of Canada. Well, it turns out single-family neighbourhoods are also affected. People living on Vancouver's west side say the area bordering Arbutus, 16th Avenue, King Edward and McDonald has been changed by the investment of offshore money. There are plenty of million-dollar-plus homes, but some of them sit empty. The City of Vancouver is said to have some 7,500 more vacant housing units than what would typically be expected in other Canadian cities.
Unfortunately, we are noticing a lot of mail in the mailboxes. We do see a lot of newspapers out on the front lawns. Beautiful homes, and just unfortunately, like I said, it's not being looked after, not being lived in. So, yeah, it's a little bit quiet in certain neighborhoods.
Roberts Creek man is back home in Canada, and he says he is literally lucky to be alive after being bitten in Costa Rica. The Bothrop snake, unlike this one, sunk his teeth into 61-year-old Michael Lovett as he was walking along a gravel road. The bite proved nearly fatal. A language barrier prevented him from getting help he needed in Costa Rica, so he flew home, where staff at Vancouver General Hospital and the BC Drug and Poison Information Centre managed to identify the kind of snake and began the search for an anti-venom drug. The drug was found at the Seattle Zoo, and an air ambulance was dispatched to pick it up. Once the drug was administered, the man began to improve almost immediately. He is now in the hospital in stable condition. He spoke to reporters via phone earlier today.
I was clearly thinking, I knew that this was creeping up my leg. By the time I got to Vancouver, this was halfway up my thigh and really swollen. But I just thought, this is the right thing to do. My lips were bleeding, kind of, and that was one of the indicators that, that I'd had a snake. But I never saw the snake. I never saw any snake at all. It was just this intense pain that I got on my foot, and that was it.
Good evening. I'm Christy Gordon with your BC One weather forecast. Looking at today, we only warmed up to about 8 degrees, significant cloud cover, and boy, we saw some brief periods of intense hail at times in some areas that were completely white on the ground after those hailstorms. So what we saw is a very unsettled air mass across the lower mainland, and we saw sort of pockets of showers, but also those intense periods. It is starting to settle down through the overnight periods. We will continue with some dark clouds here and there, a very slight chance of showers, but for the most part a drying trend as we head into tomorrow. Still a fair amount of cloud in our forecast for tomorrow, but it's Sunday that we really will see a nice clearing, so lots of sunshine. REMAX satellite is showing all the spotty conditions across the lower mainland, and certainly near the mountains. They've had some snowfall in through the local mountains today, and onto Vancouver Island, the southern sections, also a few cells there. For the most part, we are going to see high pressure build across our region and help to dry things out, and that's the same case for inland regions across the southern interior. Now, we are watching this system here. It is moving towards the coast, but because we have high pressure building across the BC area, it's actually going to hold this system offshore. So we'll see a little bit of cloud move into areas like the Haida Gwaii region and on Vancouver Island, but for the most part, precipitation really will just be that western edge of the province. Most areas will see gorgeous sunshine tomorrow, so sand spit, wet and windy windy, unfortunately for you. Otherwise, a terrific Saturday, and temperatures are starting to warm up. So tomorrow, a little warmer than what you saw today, and Sunday will be even warmer still. Here's a look at the southern region. So Cranbrook, Castlegar, a few areas will continue with a little bit of cloud through the day tomorrow, but for the most part, dry conditions with only a very slight chance of showers or flurries in through the morning. Tofino, cloud and showers, but otherwise we'll see a little bit of cloud across the region for our Saturday, and then the trend as we head into Sunday is for more sunshine and certainly into our Monday as well.
A horrifying story is unfolding in the U.S. tonight. A baby's been killed, and the suspected killers are practically babies themselves. A mother was walking her 13-month-old boy home in his stroller when she was approached by two young men. They demanded cash and threatened to kill her and her baby. When the mother told them she didn't have any cash, they allegedly shot her little boy right in front of her, then ran away.
A boy approached me and told me he wanted my money, and I told him I didn't have any money, you know, and he said, give me your money or I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to shoot your baby and kill your baby. And I said, I don't have any money, and don't kill my baby.
The boy's mother said she performed CPR, but it was too late. Police are still on the hunt for two suspects. One of the shooters is believed to be as young as 10 years old. U.S. President Barack Obama wrapped up his trip to the Middle East today with a stop in Jordan. Jordan's grappling with an influx of nearly 500,000 refugees from Syria. And today Obama promised to provide Jordan with the support it needs.
My administration will work with Congress to provide Jordan with an additional $200 million in budget support this year as it cares for Syrian refugees and Jordanian communities affected by this crisis.
Earlier in the day, the president had a chance to visit the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. A couple of people were injured in Australia after two tornadoes ripped through parts of the country on Thursday night. Witnesses say the twisters came out of nowhere and tore roofs off many homes. Several people had to be airlifted to hospitals in Sydney and Melbourne. In China, rescue efforts are underway to save 5 construction workers trapped beneath a collapsed building. The collapse happened last night when they were working on the 4th floor of a shopping plaza. 3 construction workers were killed and 9 others hospitalized. Emergency crews are still trying to locate those missing. An Ohio prosecutor is apparently ready to go to court over the cold start to spring. And he's laying the blame right on Punxsutawney Phil. Pennsylvania's famous furry prognosticator has been indicted for lying because he predicted an early spring. The Ohio prosecutor behind the tongue-in-cheek indictment says when he came to work this week in the wind and cold, he figured Phil had some splaining to do.
You know, Punxsutawney has some answers that he needs to give, and I think I'm just going to have to indict him. So I set about to indict Phil, and of course I'm seeking the death penalty because, let's face it, Phil is already behind bars with a life sentence. What else is left?
So what's your prediction?
Officials in Pennsylvania jokingly replied that Phil has a lawyer and will fight any attempted extradition by the Ohio authorities. A group in Enderby has a plan to bring back the town's historic feeling, attract more tourists, and go green. On the same theme as walking or biking trails, the group wants to create horse trails and hitching posts in the downtown area. Global Okanagan's Rob Buffum has the details.
Old meets new in downtown Enderby. Members of a local riding club paying a regular visit to a diner that's equipped with hitching posts for their horses, a feature they want to see all over town.
We do our banking and we go to the local stores and do our shopping,
and it'd be just nice to have a place where we can actually tie them up securely.
The restaurant's owner says the touch of the Wild West has been a bonanza for business.
I think it's helping, you know, when people see that the horses are in town, they come over here because they know they're coming here. There's a spot to tie them.
And the city is now considering installing hitching posts and horse corrals elsewhere, like outside the Chamber of Commerce, in an effort to rebrand the sagging town and attract tourists.
It needs a new kind of identity, it needs some new life bred into it, so we're going to be steeped in history with the railway and the paddle wheelers, and I mean horses used to bring the logs into town, right?
And frontier marketing efforts aside, making Enderby horse-friendly is also being promoted for its environmental benefits.
There's no emissions from a horse. It's all green. You can't get any greener than a horse. You put green in, green comes out, you scoop it up, the gardens love it.
There may be some unconventional pollution from this mode of transport, and the city's still looking into potential liability issues with the animals sharing space with other traffic. But the idea of turning back the clock here seems to be a big hit with locals.
It would make a huge economic difference to Enderby.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I'm for it, as long as I don't have to clean up after them.
And for these throwbacks to another time, there's no doubt the key to revitalizing Enderby lies in a return to its past.
Sometimes you got to take that one step back to go two steps forward.
Robert Buffum, Global News, Enderby.
You're watching BC One.
Living on the West Coast, we usually use umbrellas to keep us dry, but coming up Saturday, April 13th, there will be hundreds of people using the umbrella to showcase an umbrella dance.
Put your umbrella to the right side, you're going right, left, right, left, step, one, up, step, up.
The feel, again, of the music is taiko with shabab, which is Shamak's, Indian track. And we've incorporated certain moves, like it has a little exotic Egyptian hand moves, and it's got a little bit of the hips, and it's got a little bit of the hands. So there's a lot of influence of different dance cultures in it.
Buy an umbrella, grab your friends, and attend a rehearsal. And you can check out all of the instructional videos for the dance online at the Vancouver Cherry Blossom Festival website.
5, 6, 7, 8. Good job. Chalo, let's dance is basically, come on, let's dance.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the whole meaning of Shabab. Shabab means dance without worry.
We encourage people to dance without worry. We want anyone and everyone to come out and be a part of it.
Let's dance. 2, 3, 4, turn, 6, 7.
For In the Mix, I'm Wesley Wong for Global News.
Lift it up. 6, 7, 8.
Good evening. I'm Christy Gordon with your BC One weather forecast. Looking at the forecast for the next 24 hours, conditions are going to start to dry out. What we've had across the lower mainland is, and all of the south coast really, is a very unsettled air mass, and we've seen pockets of showers and pockets of pretty intense hailstorms at times. And this is because of this unsettled air mass, which will settle over the next little while. So through the overnight period, still a slight chance of showers, but for the most part, a drying trend. So tomorrow, we will still see a little bit of cloud. By the way, we're going to cool off to 0 degrees overnight, so quite cold. Tomorrow, 9 as our daytime high. Again, a little bit of cloud, but for the most part, dry through the day tomorrow, and then through the overnight period, Saturday as well. Very cold, down to 0 degrees. It's Sunday and into our Monday that we'll start to see a warming trend. Now, the REMAX satellite is showing still a fair amount of cloud across central and southern parts of the province. High pressure will start to build and settle things for most regions, and we're watching this system here. It's going to track towards the coast, but because of high pressure inland, it's actually going to hold that system off. So we'll see some cloud roll into areas like Haida Gwaii and Vancouver Island, but for the most part, the rain really just pushing into a few of those most western sections. So Sandspit might see it, and Tofino, for example. BC Peace River, mostly sunny for you over the next little while, and a warming trend as you head into the weekend. 6 degrees come Monday. That will be a nice reprieve after all of the cold weather you've been dealing with. Windy conditions in through the Whitehorse area, but a warming trend as you head towards your Monday. A little more cloud, though, for you on Monday. And for the North Coast, so still partly cloudy, but increasing cloud late Saturday, Sunday dry, but still cloudy. And then Monday, expect periods of rain into your region. Sandspit, though, we'll see a few showers tomorrow. Now, Caribou Central Interior, partly cloudy, sunny Monday or Sunday and Monday. So great conditions and warming up to 7 degrees on Monday. And look at these conditions for the Columbia-Kootenay region. So a few clouds for you tomorrow, otherwise terrific. Same for the Thompson Okanagan. Terrific conditions. Monday, 11 degrees as your daytime high. And in the Village in Whistler, it will be absolutely spectacular this weekend, warming up to 9 degrees on Monday. And Vancouver Island, 11 degrees come Monday. Again, you'll see a little bit of cloud through your day tomorrow. Tofino will see showers, but mostly it will be dry across the island and for the lower mainland, even though we'll see a bit of cloud. Sunny Sunday and Monday, and even into our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it looks like things are fairly dry.
With over 180,000 Canadians being diagnosed with cancer every year, the Canadian Cancer Society is there to help. And their goals are simple.
One is to eradicate cancer. We also work on enhancing the quality of life for people who are living with cancer.
And they do this with the help of over 15,000 volunteers throughout the province of BC.
Everything we do and all the support services that we provide in the community are really because of volunteers in every aspect of our organization.
Volunteers like survivor Doug McLaughlin, who knows what it's like to get that devastating news.
The word cancer is very frightening, and it's sort of overwhelming that, I was a healthy person, hadn't been ill before, and when you get that diagnosis, it's pretty scary.
McLaughlin is a peer support volunteer talking over the phone with cancer patients from across the country through the Cancer Connection service.
That's all I can do is share my experiences and the challenges that I've gone through and things that have worked for me.
When you're going through an experience, it's really helpful to talk to someone else who's lived that experience.
After 6 years in remission and 5 years as a volunteer, McLaughlin realises just how much a few words of advice can mean.
I never had that opportunity to talk to anyone myself. You have family and you have your sort of the medical profession, that side, but to actually be able to talk to someone who's gone through similar sort of circumstances, you can really relate to the person and the challenges that they're going through.
Calling the Cancer Information Service is the best way to access all the support services offered in your community, including Cancer Connection. Call 1-888-939-3333 or you can visit the website at cancer.ca.
It's really a one-stop shop where people can get the information they need. They can get it over the phone, they can get it via email, they can have information mailed to them.
You're watching BC One.